হেই দেয়ার ফোকস, আশা করি সবাই ভালো আছেন। আমাদের কোড ইনসেপশন ইভেন্টের আজকের সেশনটি হবে কম্পিটিটিভ প্রোগ্রামিং নিয়ে। অনেক ইন্টারেস্টিং একটি সাবজেক্ট। তাহলে আর দেরি না করে লেটস গেট স্টার্টেড।
Welcome everyone. Thanks for tuning into this talk. This talk is going to be about getting started with competitive programming. I've gone through a lot of questions and common doubts that people have before getting into CP, and in this talk I'll try to give some ideas on what CP is about, and of course clear all those questions and myths around competitive programming. So yeah, these are the basic agendas that I'll try to go through all of them in this span of 20 to 25 minutes. And this is all about me. I'm currently a software engineer at Carl Zeiss, an on-site ambassador. I passed out from IIIT Nairapur this year only, 2021. I've gone to ICPC regionals twice, and also you can follow me on Twitter, username @Jay_Devan. Before starting to give you some context, competitive programming was called sports programming at some point in time, but it's not called that anymore. I don't know why people did stop calling that, but that word sports programming very well defines what actually competitive programming refers to. So it's like any other sports where you have some fixed amount of time and you have to maybe complete all these tasks assigned to, or maybe as fast as possible, or maybe you you'll have to score the most amounts of points around the whole time period for which this game as per se will go on. And yeah, the person who scores the most points or completes the game as fast as possible wins. Now you'll think, what are these tasks or points and how do we achieve them? So let's try understanding what these tasks and points are. So for example, this is a very famous problem of finding the shortest path given a graph and all its points in the graphs and the distance from each point to like one point to the another. So you can see a graph the screen right now. So suppose you are given the problem to find the shortest path from A to E, right? And anyone who knows graph, like has studied graph even the slightest, would know that this is a very standard problem, and you can just Google and you'll be able to solve this problem using the top 3 Google results. So this is a very standard problem. Yeah, so this is an example of what a task would be, or what we call a quotient would be in a competitive programming contest. But to be more accurate, this is more of a DSA problem. So by DSA, I mean to say data structure and algorithms. So it's a very standard problem everyone studies when they're learning about graphs in data structures, right? And there's an algorithm to solve this problem, very standard algorithm you will probably learn if you ever start learning about graphs and all. So this problem which I stated is a good example of what something can be in a competitive programming contest, but usually it's a very well defined quotient, so they don't usually give you the direct thing which you have to implement. What they will give you is like a real life situation, and you'll have to create a solution for that real life situation, and you'll have to extract the problem and what the actual problem needs you to do, and what data structure you might need to implement, what algorithm you might need to implement. A lot of the time it's not very obvious, right? I'll try to give an example of a real competitive programming quotient and how it differs from a DSA quotient. In the end, a competitive programming quotient boils down to some combination of common logics, math, data structure, algorithms, and a good knowledge of implementing and combining all these to create a coherent solution to solve the problem. I'll try to give more examples of these further ahead in the talk. But before going to that, I'll first like to rephrase on what's the importance of competitive programming, why we are even asked to do this in college. I mean, you must have heard about this term competitive programming, and why every senior or everyone will force you or ask you to at least give it a go because it might help you somehow. So I'll try to convince you why you should choose competitive programming and try to pursue it. And the BTech, and not even in BTech, like even after BTech or whatever you're doing. So one of the three main points which I think is why I would recommend anyone to go for computer programming is, first of all, building logic. Computer programming will teach you how to build your logic and problem solving skills, and also it will teach you how to be able to convert your logic into code, because just thinking isn't enough. As a software developer, you also need to be able to convert your thinking, your logical solution, to code to provide a solution to the end user. And also it provides you the ability to communicate in technical terms. Someone might, like, say in a company, you're going through a solution and people are talking about, oh, this is a very tough solution, how would you go around this? Oh, we can use this algorithm, we can store this data in this sort of structure and this way, and we can use some sort of digital algorithm to complete the shortest path or something like that. So you need to be able to know these terms to actually communicate very well, and at least when it comes to data structure and algorithms, you'll learn a lot of these, and you'll be able to communicate very nicely with others when it comes to problem solving in algorithmic sense. And what's the use of computer programming? So as you can see, there are two different images here, UPS and a graph, and in the middle it's written traveling salesman problem. So you probably might have heard of this problem. Even if you haven't, then I'll try to explain it. So traveling salesman problem is a very famous problem which isn't very easy to solve. Like, there hasn't been any efficient solution to this problem yet. Like, people are trying to come up with the most optimal solution, but the best solution which we know of is of the order 2 to the power n, which is very, very bad, because as soon as where n is the number of points in the graph, so as soon as you, like, the n goes bigger than 20, 30, 100, you cannot compute this exact answer to the solution. So what's the problem? Let's come to that. The problem is that, say you're given 5 points in this graph and each point is connected to each other in this example. Great. Now, okay, let's suppose you need to start from the point 0 and you need to hit all these points and come back to 0. So it's like a salesman, right? You're starting from 0, which is your headquarter, and you have to hit every house and maybe try to sell your product or maybe deliver something and come back to 0. And you have to do this spending the least amount of time in road and traveling, right? So this is where the problem comes, traveling salesman problem. And the reason why I have UPS is because UPS is a very good example of a company which is using not a very correct solution of traveling salesman, because you can try some heuristic algorithms to maybe get a very close to accurate solution. So UPS is a very good example because they use these algorithms in creating a predefined path their trucks, the delivery trucks need to follow to deliver all these packets in the most efficient way across the city. So yeah, this is a very real life example of how computer programming, or the skills you learn in computer programming, can help you in a real life problem. So how much math is needed for computer programming? This is a problem or question that a lot of people have before starting, and believe me, after you start computer programming, you probably will not have this problem, this question in your head. Do you need to do a BTech in math for computer programming? No, not needed. Do you need math to start doing computer programming? No, not really. If you're interested in math, will you eventually be interested in computer programming? Might be, because a lot of the applications of math come in computer programming. So math is used in computer programming. Most of the times it's very simple logical maths. You can start computer programming and then start learning math parallelly. Say for some algorithm you need to learn some matrix calculation and matrix computation and the maths behind it, then go ahead, learn that as in while you're learning about the matrix, some matrix algorithm. So you don't need to know math before starting. You can learn math on the way, and obviously learning math to some extent will help you being good in computer programming and being good in algorithms and data structure as well. A lot of the people ask, what sort of areas do we need to learn? Do we need to be good in integration or differentiation? No, mostly not. So these are some of the areas you kind of need to be average or good in. So like number theory, abstract algebra, game theory, graph theory, geometric algorithms, and art of problem solving. So art of problem solving is actually a website, so you can check that out as well. It's a very good website for looking at abstract math problems and how efficient they use very abstract algebra, number theory, and game theory to solve these problems. These skills are transferable when you do competitive programming. This part of problem solving website is good if you are very good at math. If you want to get into competitive programming, so that you can do art of problem solving first, and then say if you kind of get good at it, if you're enjoying it, then you can learn some programming language, and then you can use this your mathematical ability to solve problems in competitive programming. This will help you a lot. So let's see what are the best resources to learn data structures and algorithms, which you probably will implement in some good competitive programming questions. You probably will not need them in the first or second question or in a competition, suppose, but maybe the third question you'll need to implement some sort of tree or stack or queue or something. So the first one is Geeks for Geeks. It's like a article portal where people can submit their articles, and I think it has an article for all the most known algorithms, most known data structures, most generic questions you can come up with, like the one which I showed you in the starting, finding the shortest path between 2 points in a graph. So yeah, that's a good source for reading articles and learning algorithms, but I wouldn't recommend the code snippets. LeetCode and Algo Experts fall into the same bucket, as they have questions which are very similar to competitive programming contest questions. You can see these questions, you can implement the solution, you can submit the solution, and they will check your solution against the test cases which they have, and it will give you the how many test cases that you're able to pass. The only difference is Algo Expert is paid, whereas some parts of LeetCode is free. The free part is good enough to practice, but you can pay for some premium features for LeetCode as well. But Algo Expert is fully paid. There is no free feature as far as I know. And HackerRank and HackerEarth also fall in the same bucket, where they provide you a set of curated problems from very easy to very hard. So you can follow them along the path which they have created, sort of a guide on low level questions to slowly increasing your level and solving hard questions. So I would recommend HackerEarth and HackerRank if you're starting, and LeetCode and Algo Expert if you want to grind and get better. Preferred language for competitive programming. It's a very debatable, very hot topic as such. In my opinion, all the major, like any of these three major languages, C++, Java, or Python, would do good for you if you're not aiming for like the top of the top level in India or in the world, because companies, at least in this current age, don't look if you know only C++ or if you only know Java or if you only know Python, because if you know one language, then switching to the other is not very hard as soon as they all follow the same paradigm. So yeah, all of them will do good. There's no limitation as such to any of these languages when it comes to competitive programming. I would though recommend Java or C++ if you want to get good and get to a good stage and maybe say compete in ACM ICPC. But otherwise, if that's not your aim, then Python would do good as well. So I got this very weird question that can competitive programming be harmful for software engineers? And I get where this question came from, because a lot of the times competitive programming is seen as this one person thing where you sit in a room all alone and learn all the best algorithms in the data structure and do competitive programming throughout the day, and you don't interact with anyone, you don't have any social skills or communication skills, which is very much needed when you are a software engineer at a company where you need to discuss with your team, co-work and create solutions and implement features. But I think what is missing is like what people don't see is competitive programming can actually help you in becoming a good communicator and working with a team, because the most famous competition in the world, ACM ICPC, is a team competition, 3 people, where all of them have to work together and use their time as efficiently as possible. And if you cannot do that, then you need the whole team effort. The side of the competitive programming which people don't see when they say that it can be harmful. Definitely there are people that do it all alone. They don't co-pair code with anyone else, and yeah, that can be harmful if you want to work in a team environment. If you're aiming for ASMICPC and working with teams and code pairing and solving problems together, then yeah, doing those aspects. And some of the most popular online judges are Codeforces, CodeChef, AdCoder, and TopCoder. The ones I used the most were the CodeChef and Codeforces. At this moment, I would recommend everyone to go for Codeforces because they have like at least 1 or 2 contests each week. I think the community there is very great, and yeah, I think Codeforces is the best option at this point. It's a website maintained by a Russian university, or otherwise you can also use CodeChef. It's an Indian platform. It was under DirectEye, but I think it has now moved to Byju's. I think you'll grow more in Codeforces rather than in CodeChef. So that's my recommendation. And now, last but not the least, how to get started with competitive programming. Since I have talked so much about competitive programming, some of you might want to get into this. So the first step would be to get comfortable with the language. Choose a language, get comfortable with it, so that you can use all the different data structures, the list, arrays, if, else, while loop, for loops, different kinds of loop, taking input, giving output, and all the ins and outs, like basic in and out of the language. Then start solving simple algorithmic problems. Say you're given an array, find the second largest element of this array, find the third largest, find the second smallest one of this array. Now how to do this more efficiently than just doing O of n solution, and then start increasing your difficulty. The best way I would recommend is again Hacker Rank, Hacker Earth, or I think Lead Code is a good option as well. So you can go there and start solving problems and try to increase the difficulty level by level, question by question. Yeah, and at some point of the time, I think after you have started using HackerRank or Hacker Earth or Lead Code, when you feel comfortable, please do go ahead and compete in an online judge. Just don't restrict yourself to HackerRank or Lead Code, because online judges are where the actual competitive programming contest happens, and you need to be good at implementing algorithms while understanding the problem, because a lot of the times people learn how to use data structures. Like, say if I tell you to find the shortest path in a graph, you can write that algorithm down, great. But if I gave you a real life problem, if you aren't able to understand that in this problem I need to use that same algorithm to find the shortest path in A and B, and use a graph structure to convert whatever input I have given you of, say, suppose a city, then your knowledge is useless if you can't apply that knowledge in a problem. So that's where I think CP comes into, where you're forced to apply your data structure, your algorithms, your basic mathematics ability, your logical ability, solve a problem. And yeah, participate in contests regularly. CodeChef has 3 in each month, rated 3. I think there are community competitions going on, but I think Codeforces has 1 or 2 rated every week. So I think at least 5 or 6 per month. So Codeforces is a bit better option if you want to participate regularly and if you have that kind of bandwidth. And yeah, don't forget to solve all the unsolved problems after the contest. Say there are 5 problems, and you are able to solve the 2, and maybe you read the third one but you weren't able to come up with anything in the duration of the contest. Then give it a day, try to think of a good solution. If you aren't able to do that in one day, then go ahead, read the solution, read the tutorials, learn what you were missing out, learn what you weren't able to think. Maybe you were lacking some algorithmic skills. Read the editorials and the solutions, and rinse and repeat. That's all. And one last suggestion would be to implement DSA in programming projects. So This could be very simple projects where you say take a good example would be a trie, TRIE is a data structure which can be used to generate word completions like autocomplete. So maybe you can create this project. It uses the trie structure, and you have to do a DFS traversal into the trie data structure and come up with all the words. So try to look up for all these projects. They will definitely increase your interest in DSA and as well as in CPE. So let's look into how a competitive programming question looks like actually, and how it reads and how you should approach a question. So this is the second question of Codeforces Global Round 15, which you can even go to Codeforces Round and check out and actually submit a solution for this if you come up with one. So this is a question about an Olympic Games, and Federico is eager to win the marathon race. Okay, they are N athletes. They are numbered 1 to N grade. They have taken part in the 5 important marathons before this in the past, right? And for each I, which is in between 1 to N, and for each J, which is between 1 to J, remembers that like the RIJ, where I is the athlete and J is the marathon, and the number of that RIJ, which actually refers to the rank of that athlete. So R2 4 means equals to 3 means that the athlete 2 was third in marathon 4. And this all information is given to you. TK considers an athlete X superior to Y. If athlete X is ranked better than Y in at least 3 past marathons, or because there are 5 marathons, so if it is he's better than 3 so he has a better rank in 3, then of course technically he has won over that person, so he's better athlete. Now Federico wants to find an athlete who can probably win the Olympic, and if he feels like if some athlete is superior to everyone else using this logic, then he'll probably win the Olympic. So he wants to find out who will probably win the Olympic. So that's the question. You have to help Federico find if there is someone who is superior to all the other athletes, and so understanding that okay, this is the person who will probably win the Olympics, or maybe determining that there's no such athlete, like there's no one person who is superior to everyone else. There's given an input format, like how the input will be given to you, and there'll probably be an output format on how you have to provide the output. If says there's no such athlete, then you'll probably have to print -1. If there's such athlete, then you'll probably have to print the ith number for the athlete, because there are n athlete. Alright, and yep, so this is how a question looks, and it's very much simple if you actually dive into this and try to solve this. It's like second question, which is probably next level to a very easy question. So yeah, you can give it just a try. This is the second question of Codeforces Global Round 15. Just Google this contest and yeah, try solving this problem. Alright, we have now come to the end of the session. Thank you everyone for being an amazing audience, and feel free to ask any doubts, questions if you have any. And also you can feel free to reach out to me on my Twitter handle as well as on the AS8 or Discord server. And yeah, have a nice day everyone.
থ্যাঙ্কস ফর ওয়াচিং ফোকস। আমাদের এই ইভেন্টটিতে কোলাব করেছে দুইটি পার্টনার অর্গানাইজেশন, তারা হলো ব্যাশ ওমেন কমিউনিটি এবং ভিশন গ্রিন অর্গানাইজেশন। আমাদের পার্টনার অর্গানাইজেশনগুলো খুবই সাপোর্টিভ কিছু ইনিশিয়েটিভস গ্রহণ করেছে, সুতরাং প্লিজ তাদের সাইটগুলো দেখুন এবং দেখুন তারা কী সার্ভিসেস প্রোভাইড করছে, কী ইনিশিয়েটিভ গ্রহণ করেছে। এটি শুধু আমাদের অর্গানাইজেশন বা তাদের অর্গানাইজেশন জন্যই নয়, বরং আপনার জন্য খুবই সহায়ক হবে। সকল লিঙ্ক আপনারা ভিডিওর ডেসক্রিপশনে পেয়ে যাবেন। Thanks again for watching. Join our Discord server to support our mission of creating the first ever developer community of Bangladesh. If this video was helpful, please leave a like, subscribe to our channel for watching amazing programming related contents in the future.